Hello everyone, it's Sylvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the very popular deck and walk. So I've been asked by a couple of my members and a few subscribers to my channel if I was going to do the deck and walk for 2024-2025, and my answer is yes, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be filming this. But let's say it's yes, but. So the reason why I feel like I need to add something to that yes is because personally, having been reading tarot for 36 years now, I have to say the deck and walk became popular probably thanks to Susan T. Chang's book 36 Secrets, because before that, let me tell you, I don't know when you have joined the tarot community, and perhaps you've started getting into tarot before you even joined the community. Those two things don't go hand in hand in some cases, depending on where you live, if you have access to social media or not. But let's say that it's not something that immediately grabs a tarot reader's attention. It is something that is more reserved to someone who's been studying astrological references and associations with the tarot. And as such, it's not something that you would do as a beginner. I've been filming already and posting a video for my members about this, and this is something that I strongly believe in. If you're a beginner, please absolutely do the deck and walk if you want to enjoy the experience. Of course you can do it, but please understand that if you don't have any experience with tarot and if you do not know the basics of tarot, starting the deck and walk this year, right now, at this moment of your knowledge and your relationship with tarot, is probably not the best approach, in the sense that it's not something that will teach you how to read tarot. And let me explain this, because I know that it may sound a little bit controversial, and I'm the first person who thinks that whenever you can study something about tarot, you should. I'm actually the one person that always says, please read the guidebooks. Even if you know tarot, even if you're an advanced reader, you should always make time to read the guidebooks, because the guidebooks may give you, depending on the guidebook, of course, but they may give you an additional layer of knowledge on that particular specific deck. Because at least they tell you the way in which the artist has approached their work and the way in which they have conceived the tarot cards they're working on and the images they have selected to signify a particular card. When it comes to specifically the deck and walk, even Susan T. Chang, who's the author of the 36 Secrets book, and who's made, let's say, the deck and walk popular back in 2020, 2021, when she was actually doing the deck and walk. She concedes in other books, for example, her Tarot Correspondences or her Tarot Deciphered, that there are points of convergence between tarot and astrology, but there's also points of divergence between tarot and astrology. And so I believe that such knowledge should already exist in your own vocabulary. You should have already your own approach, at least on a basic level, of tarot, of how to read the cards and the keywords associated with the cards, for example, in order to be able to spot the differences, but also to be able to enjoy this additional layer of knowledge. So I highly recommend that, of course, as I said, you can enjoy the deck and walk, you can read the 36 Secrets book and other books by Susan, which, by the way, is an absolute authority on tarot. But please bear in mind that just doing, or if you're an absolute beginner, starting to know tarot through the deck and walk, it is not exactly, it doesn't, let's say, give you the very first knowledge that you should have about the cards. Having said that, this was just some kind of a disclaimer that I just wanted to put out there as a housekeeping item. And I'm just gonna, let's say, explain what I'm doing for my very own Deccan Walk 2024-2025. So I've had a chat with my members and we've decided to do it together with a few of my members. And also I am going to show you once a month, I'm also going to show to all of my subscribers the way in which I laid out my, I will lay out my Deccan Walk. With my members instead, we're actually going to go very deep into the meanings of all of the astrological references, the alchemical references, the Kabbalistic references to tarot related to the Deccan Walk. And this is basically the Deccan Walk. So this is a zodiacal wheel. If you have never seen this before, you just have to Google zodiacal wheel and you find something similar, perhaps with less colors, it doesn't matter. But in any case, this is the basic, and it's a chart that really helps you understand all the references. And I think it's pretty well done. You have others that also show you all of the symbols. You know, there's only so much you can do with limited space, obviously. But if you already know something about astrology, you don't necessarily need a chart with the symbols or with the names. If you just have the symbols, you will know immediately what zodiac sign they are referring back to. But as you can see, so we start here. Now, let me just zoom in, because I believe that otherwise we won't be able to see much. And here we go. So I'm just gonna center it. So as you can see here, we got Aries. So Aries starts on the 21st of March. And so as you can see here, Aries is divided in 3 sectors. So these 3 sectors correspond to 3 groups of 10 degrees each. And by degrees, I literally mean degrees as degrees in a wheel or in a circle. So each and every sign has got 3 groups of 10 degrees each. And those groups of 10 degrees are called decan. So if we look at the wheel, we will see that we have all of the zodiac signs, so Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and so on. They will be divided in, as I said before, these 3 groups of 10 degrees, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And these ones will be called, according to the date you're in, they will be called Area 1, Aries 2, Aries 3, Taurus 1, Taurus 2, Taurus 3, and so on and so forth. So Aries 1 will be the one that goes from March 21st up until March 30th. Aries 2 will be starting on March 31st and go up until April the 10th. And Aries 3 will be from April 11 until the 20th. And then we go on, and then we've got, of course, starting from April 21st until April the 30th. Because we're moving into Taurus, it will be Decan Taurus 1, and then Decan Taurus 2, Taurus 3. Then we got Gemini 1, Gemini 2, Gemini 3, Cancer 1, Cancer 2, Cancer 3, Leo 1, Leo 2, Leo 3, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna read all of that because you got the gist of it. This is really a basic approach to a decan. So it's called a decan walk because it lasts a year. So you start on March 21st and it ends on the year after on March 20th with Pisces 3. So you start with Aries 1, you walk your way all around the year and the zodiacal wheel, and then you end on Pisces 3. So this is, as I said, really basic, and sometimes, making things, simplifying or oversimplifying things doesn't do them justice. So I am oversimplifying things, but it's also because I'm very well aware that, as I said, it is not something necessarily done by all card slingers or tarot readers, or even less so tarot collectors. However, it has become famous because of Susan T. Chang's book. But it's also because I feel that lately there is a lot more, let's say, interest in the tarot community into adding more and more layers of knowledge in the way tarot readers use their cards. If you want to join me, you're more than welcome, and it will be so much fun. As I said, I will be doing just one video a month. Let's say this month will be different because I'm starting to show you today my setup, the way in which I will be doing the deck and walk. I will be showing you my resources, but then it will be included in my monthly wrap-ups, in which I will show you what I have done for that particular month and the decans that have been included in that month. With my members instead, we're actually going to go much deeper in details into, let's say, all of the knowledge that we need to have in order to do a proper deck and walk. And so that will be a one video per week in which I will definitely tackle the astrological aspect of the deck and walk. But now let me just zoom back out, because I'm going to show you my deck and walk setup, including all of the tools that I'm going to use and the references. Now, this is extremely important because this is what you base yourself on when you look at the dates, for example, and also the correspondences when it comes to which of the minor cards and which of the court cards. And it doesn't say here, but I'm going to show you later, there's also references to major arcanas. So you need to base yourself on this one, but then of course you, if you want to, you can go deeper and add some additional layers. So this one is, as I said, extremely important, very cheap. Now, of course, there's a few shops, perhaps even on Amazon, I think you can find the Zodiacal Wheel of the Year. But in my case, I have it in a book. I just I scanned the page and then I just printed it out. But you can find it pretty much anywhere. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you, obviously, when it comes to the resources, and this is, let's say, the obvious one, that's the book that I was referring to. This is Susan T. Chang's 36 Secrets, a Decanic Journey Through the Minor Arcana of the Tarot. And this is, let's say, her journal, I would say, but also it's very well done because she has always been the authority that she is. She obviously added a few additional layers that are very interesting to be talking about, to be studied. For example, as you can see, references to the Kabbalah, but there's also references to, the Picatrix. There's also references to different tarot decks as well, because she actually talks about the symbology in the cards themselves and not just the pixie rendition of the RWS. I've seen in some cases there's different ones as well, and obviously because of Murphy's Law, when you are looking for something in specific, you cannot find it. But in any case, so there's a bit of everything in this book, and obviously also the references to astrology, which is what we are basing ourselves on. Now, to just give you an idea, there's also, so Susan had to make a choice because, as you can imagine, let me just zoom back in, sorry. As you can imagine, there are different angles to doing, let's say, this approach, this astrological approach to tarot. There is the Golden Dawn, and then obviously from the Golden Dawn, there's also Aleister Crowley's own approach. And when it comes to certain terms, Susan chose the vocabulary, the references as explained by Aleister Crowley, not the ones explained by the Golden Dawn, even though Susan herself says that there's a lot of let's say, there's a lot of common terminology used by the two. And for example, when it comes to the Hermetic title, so Hermetic is referring back to the Golden Dawn system. When it comes to the Hermetic title, she actually chose to follow, just for consistency, Aleister Crowley's title, Lord of Valor. You will see one example that comes to mind that is actually rather different is for the the Aquarius 3. Let me just go to Aquarius 3 and Aquarius 1, Aquarius 2, Aquarius 3. is here. So when it comes to Aquarius 3, the Golden Dawn refers it back with the hermetic title of Lord of Unstable Effort, whereas Aleister Crowley gives a simplistic idea of that, calling it Lord of Futility. In that case, Susan has chosen Lord of Futility, but if you read her description of Aquarius 3, you will actually understand that I think she's more talking about Lord of Unstable Effort, which is more like the hermetic title assigned by the Golden Dawn. I prefer the Golden Dawn titles, but then again, I do understand that Aleister Crowley's titles are probably more accessible because, you know, it's easier to say futility rather than unstable effort. However, being born myself in Aquarius 3, I really hate the term futility because it really makes you feel that whatever you do, you know, don't bother. I do prefer to have that kind of a wiggle room that is given by unstable, the word unstable, rather than the word futile, which is, you know, by the Golden Dawn. So in any case, I find this to be incredibly accessible. It is very easy to read. As always, Susan is fantastic when also the style of prose that she uses, but as you can see, she is really touching base with a lot of different disciplines, not just astrology in this book, but she keeps every chapter to a minimum, let's say, which is always very interesting because on the one hand, if you don't have that much time available, you know, you don't want to have at least, say, 30 pages dedicated to each and every decan, which is what basic you can find in other books, like for example, Tarot Deciphered. You want something more succinct. But if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it gives you all of the references that you will need in order to do so. So this one is definitely, if I zoom back out, you will see it. So this one is definitely something to consider if you want to do the decan walk. Also to see that someone like Susan, who, as I said, is an authority in the matter, also had a bit of trouble sometimes, you know, corresponding or trying to understand the references as explained by the Golden Dawn or Aleister Crowley and life itself. Apart from that, so as I mentioned, I will be using the book I was referencing before. This is still by Susan T. Chang. This is the Tarot Deciphered, and I will also probably use another book by Susan. It's a blue one and it's called Tarot Correspondences. Even though that would be adding an even let's say more complex layer to the decan walk, and you know, it will depend on how much time I have to dedicate to that. We will definitely go through this book with my members. And then I will also, you know, choose to have a look at this book, which is completely new in my collection. However, Susan always references back to Corinne Kenner's work. And this is I just had a look in the last week. This is actually a fantastic way to deepen your knowledge if you don't want to read the Tarot Deciphered. This one, which is rather complex, let's say. If you just want 2 books to reference to for your decanic walk, you have the 36 Secrets and the Tarot and Astrology, and you will be set with these 2. And obviously, perhaps, you know, have a printout available whenever you're looking at the decans. And then when it comes to other books, let's say one that I highly recommend, also for you to be able to spot the differences. So you remember when I was talking about the fact that there will be points of convergence, but there will also be points of divergence between astrology and tarot. You will definitely be able to spot the points of divergence if you have a look at Maisie Bristol's Cosmic Cards, which has, so it consists of a book and also some tarot cards related to the book. Now I have to say, please understand that this is mainly referring to the book, Modern Astrology and Tarot Guide, and the cards are here for you just to have a visual aid to what the book says. These cards are beautiful because they have been illustrated by Orla Bird, which is also the author and creator of Avifauna Tarot. If you know that tarot, you'll recognize the art style. I really enjoy this deck, but please understand this is not a tarot deck you would use for divination and using, because this is literally just paper. It is extremely thin and it really makes you feel like it can be easily damaged. But that's not, you know, that's not a problem, because literally these came to be a visual aid to the book. So I'm quite happy when there is kind of aid added to these two. So this one is a book that has been loved and hated by me, because I love the fact that there's so many references, and let's say it's very approachable, very accessible. The language used is not complex, and so if you're a beginner with astrology related to tarot, this is very helpful. However, and also because, you know, it plays with the symbols and the cards and you can always find them, and it's very nice to always try your way also at reproducing all of the zodiac symbols, for example, for the astrological signs, or referring back to the planets. That's not always easy, but it is always very interesting. But I have to say, I found myself at times strongly disagreeing with the interpretation given to the cards. And so let's say that this is, if you're an absolute beginner, please don't learn the meaning of the cards based on this book, because this is strong, let's say astrology heavy, or heavier than it should be when you want to learn about tarot. So that's an important distinction that I wanted to make. Really beautiful deck, really beautiful book, but you need to understand that when you read tarot, just tarot, you need to have, as I said before, you're already at your fingertips at least a basic knowledge of the cards. Do not learn tarot from this book. And for what it matters, do not learn tarot from the deck and walk either, because it will be, you know, astrology heavy. Then what I'm going to use, so let's go to the decks. I think, yes, let's go to the decks. So when it comes to the decks, many think that you should only confine yourself to Thoth. And to be honest with you, of course, if you follow Aleister Crowley's interpretation of the Golden Dawn system, the Thoth deck is very important, and obviously it's also, personally, I actually believe that it's a beautiful deck. And I'm sure you all know this. I bought this back in the 80s, but it was already not one of the greenies, and I'm crying because, you know, I would have loved to have a greenie. But it is one of those US Games really buttery kind of cardstock, which I'm really happy about. And, you know, obviously Thoth was very faithful to the astrological representation of the cards, which is obviously very important for us to follow and to understand. And so you will find the symbols, also the symbols from the Kabbalah. So this is from Hebrew language. And the art style is, well, I'm guessing if you're here, you probably already know about Thoth. So, you know, I'm not going to explain. This is, to me, this is a beautiful deck. Artistically speaking, you see the Tree of Life. It's a really beautiful deck. Do I read with it for divination? No. This is not a deck that I use for divination. This is a deck that I use for studying. So as you can see, it's very well maintained, very well preserved, because I haven't been using it much as any other RWS. I do use RWS for my divination. I may use RWS also for meditation practices. And to a certain extent, I use Marseille as well for divination, because Marcel gives me the opportunity to not pay too much attention and being distracted by the artwork, being pippish. but I don't use Thoth for divination. So this is obviously, you can use Thoth, absolutely, but you know, I would say to have some fun, why don't you mix it up? And so there's many decks you can use, and I'm just gonna show you a few of them. There's also oracle decks you can use. There's astrology decks you can use. I don't have a lens big enough to show you, but the Numinous Astro deck is really, really beautiful. And the Star Cards Astro Oracle by Hay House is also really interesting. What should I do? Okay, I'm just gonna show you quickly the deck. So the Star Cards Astro Oracle is very useful when it comes to your planetary, the ruling planets, you know, understanding the ruling planets for each and every decan. So we've got, for example, Aries 1 will be Mars. Mars will be ruling Aries for the Aries 1 decan. So when we talk about Aries 1, we say Mars in Aries. Obviously, if you know the nature of planet Mars, then you will also understand the very first essence of decan Aries 1. There's a lot of creative power, there's a lot of explosive power, there's the firepower, you know, that is always related to Mars. And so you can go on and keep Aries and then look through the other planets. So we've got the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Jupiter. We have all of the planets in this deck. And so we'll be able to go through by keeping Aries and putting down the cards related to the other planets, which is always very interesting. It's the same thing you can do with the Numinous. The Numinous Astro deck has got the same principle, but a completely different art style. And I just wanted to show you this because what I generally do, I use my Star Child Akashic because I just like this deck. And I think it's got the great vibes for a decan walk. And so I use the Star Child with the Deep Place Oracle and the Numinous. Let me just try and show you what I mean when I talk about the vibes, because by talking it's too difficult. So I'm just gonna show you. Okay, so as you can see, this is the Star Child Akashic, this is the Deep Place Oracle, which I tend to use in combination with the Star Child Akashic. And then we got the Numinous Oracle, and the Numinous Oracle, like the Star Cards Astro Oracle, is divided in two. So you got the zodiac signs and you got the planets. And to be honest with you, let's put it this way: if you want to be faithful to the symbology associated with zodiac signs and planets, then the Star Card Astro is actually better because it does show you all the symbols. And so I would use the Star Card Astro with, for example, the Hermetic Tarot. But if you want a more modern approach to the two, then the Numinous is definitely an option because, as you can see, it's very much modern. It's got that kind of style of collage that is always quite popular in the last 5-6 years. And it also has really interesting keywords at the bottom, which can help to understand how to read the energy of Mars into Aries, for example, for Aries 1. And then, you know, you can use the Tarot and the Oracle deck if you do spreads, for example. I do associate very specific spreads for each and every decan, and I'm just going to show you later. So these 1, 2, 3 work really well together. And because I always like to give mass market alternatives to indie decks, as I was mentioning, the Star Card Astro Oracle pair up really well with the Hermetic Tarot, which is this one, and it is mass market by US Games. This is by Hay House, and you have the most recent versions of the Thoth Tarot also by US Games. You also have, I think there's a mini version as well. This is a rather large format. So these three, for example, would be the equivalent, I would say, to using the Star Child, which is by Danielle Noel and is obviously an indie deck, and the Deep Place Oracle by Ray Serafina, which is also an indie deck. But in alternative to the Hermetic Tarot, there's a number, and I'm just going to show you one, but there are so many Thoth-inspired decks. That so the Sun and Moon Tarot in a Team by Vanessa Decor, for example, is absolutely gorgeous. So as you can see, it's a tiny, you also can buy the full size. And I think that sometimes I actually want to, you know, snatch a copy of the full size, because the art style is absolutely gorgeous. I really, really love it. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the full size has got white borders. And somehow I actually prefer these kind of thick black borders. But this is a definitely modern take on Thoth. And let's say it's a modern tarot deck which is inspired by Thoth. And I absolutely love this deck. And it's, you know, because it's in a tin, it's very easy to take with you if you want. It's got the symbology, for example, referring to the alchemical elements of the minors. So yeah, it's a really beautiful deck and a very valid alternative to expensive indie decks like the Tabula Mundi, for example, the Rosetta Tarot, which are absolutely gorgeous, fantastic, but being indie, you know, sometimes they're not as accessible as a mass market deck, especially when it's a tarot in a tin. So as I was saying, yeah, the Sun and Moon tarot. And when it comes to my very own deck and walk, basically I'm going to do some journaling. And this is, I've set up already 2 Midori F2 notebooks. So if you're familiar with Midori, you will notice that it looks completely different because I covered with washi stickers and the covers. And also I was going through all of my washi tapes, and I basically got all of the ones with an astrological kind of theme to them. And you know, so it's just a little bit of scrapbooking. And if you watch my channel, you will know I am not good at scrapbooking, so this is not gonna look good. But that was not my intention. I just wanted to have a memento of this year. And once it's done, I just wanted to have everything in one place, or at least 2, in order to be able to one day go back to it and look at what I've done. And because I'm also creating spreads for each and every decan, I wanted to have them all together. And so this is my Decan Walk 2024. So we start with Aries, of course, and you probably wonder why it's blue, because I'm actually referring back to the Golden Dawn association with colors and decans. And so what I've done, because it's very, for my own brain, I need to have something visual that shows me all of the references in one page. And so this is what I've done basically here. So let me see, do I need to zoom in? Maybe not. So this is Aries 1 with the symbol for Aries. We got the position, which is cardinal, and the element is fire. We got the dates from the 21st to the 30th of March. We got the Hermetic title, Lord of Dominion. Even though I'm also following Aleister Crowley's, in some cases I would choose between Aleister Crowley's simplification of the Golden Dawn. I may go for the Golden Dawn Hermetic title. Simply because sometimes I think that Crowley's approach was, if more accessible, was attached to simplistic. Then we got the Decan ruler, which is Mars. The minor card referring back to Aries 1, which is the 2 of Wands. And the Golden Dawn association with the color, which is soft blue. And the majors that are associated with the Aries 1. So the majors are, you calculate or you identify the majors by looking at Mars in Aries. So you look at the planet and the major arcana associated with the planet, which is the Tower, and the Aries, which is associated with the Emperor. So the major arcanas associated with Aries 1 will be the Tower and the Emperor. And then for each and every decan, I'm actually going to choose a different couple of decks. And for Aries 1, I've chosen the Liberation Tarot and the Oracle Magicus. So I'm just gonna quickly show you what I'm talking about. So this is the Oracle Magicus and this is the Liberation Tarot. So I don't know what's going on, but one of you alerted me to the fact that the Liberation Tarot, which is a deck that I backed in a Kickstarter last year, is actually already listed as a mass market on Amazon. I had a look when I was alerted to that, and it was true, it was listed on Amazon, and now it's not there anymore. I don't know whether it was an attempt at you know, a fake, someone with a fake deck to sell it on Amazon. Unfortunately, Amazon is not monitoring you know, fake decks being sold. I'm saying that because we would have thought that from other retailers, but Amazon, I always trusted them, and unfortunately they're not, they stopped, they used to monitor that, but they're not doing that anymore. So please, if you find something on Amazon, please make sure that it's the original. Don't trust the low prices, but sometimes they actually make you pay a lot of money as well. Just to give you one example, there is Lamucci Design, which is actually on Amazon with their own shop now. So if you're buying a Lamucci Design Baroque Tarot, for example, which is really beautiful, you can actually find the original deck for more or less $103 Australian. I don't know how much they sell it in the US for, in US dollars. But there's also an equivalent for $40. Please understand that the one for $40 is not sold by Lamucci Design through Amazon, it is a fake. So sometimes we know how to spot a fake, sometimes we don't. For the Liberation Tarot, I had no idea whether that listing was legitimate or not. I had no idea, and it's not there anymore. It comes and goes, so I really don't understand what's going on there. But in any case, the Liberation Tarot is really beautiful. It's a deck that took me a while to get into because there is a lot of renaming, both of the majors, but also of the minors, the suits, and the core cards, and it's absolutely fine once you understand what they refer to, of course. And this is quite easy, obviously, because the student is always the page, and the vessels is quite intuitive to understand that they're talking about the Suit of Cups. But in other cases, it's not as easy. So this is a really beautiful deck, and it feels to me like it does have that kind of Mars in Aries, so for the deck and Aries 1 kind of energy and vibe. And because it is a collage deck, it's actually a corporation deck, so in many cases there will be collage, but there will be other you know, medium of expression, medium of art would have been used. But I love to pair it up with the Oracle Magicus, which is this one. By Iris Elinak, and by the way, this deck is absolutely a joy to use. It's a really beautiful, the cardstock is phenomenal, and it's a really beautiful photographic collage deck that refers back to, there you go, you got Aleister Crowley, for example. It refers back to very recognizable characters, Merlin, for example, Meduse, and so on and so forth. And I feel that associating these two decks gave me the possibility to stay within the astrological vibes of the deck and walk. And so I've actually created my own spread, you know, with the specific energy of the Aries 1 decan, and this is what I'll be doing with my members. So we'll be going down the rabbit hole and studying the energies of the Two of Wands associated to Mars in Aries. And then by using my, I have a small printer, like a Polaroid, that, you know, I just have to snap a photo of the cards, and then I can put them in the spread. And then there's my own interpretation of the spread. And then I start with Aries 2, and so on and so forth. And then at the end of these two books, I also left some room for references here, which I have not even started, but there's room for references to books, movies, you know, even songs or anything. Then spreads, because I want to keep them all together. So in here I will put all of my spreads, so I will be able to have a bird's eye view over, or let's say an overlook of all of the spreads that I've got. and then the index, of course, with all of the numbered pages. So this is my, let's say, just one word about the colors. So yes, I know that generally speaking, you do associate Mars and the energy of Mars with the color red. However, in my case, I've actually done a study of the Golden Dawn associations to each and every decan, and I do prefer to use that. And for the fountain pen inks aficionados of you, I know you're out there. So I love doing this because I actually look into my ink swatch book to choose the colors. For example, for the soft blue, I think I chose the Petrol by Mont Blanc. But you know, it's a way for me to put together two things that I'm really passionate about, and so this is where I will choose my colors. And what else? As I said, it's an adventure, and as I said before, please understand that I strongly believe in being free to choose your own path to tarot. The only caveat, the only disclaimer that I feel like saying and repeating for the third time, if you're an absolute beginner, the decan walk is astrology heavy. And so unless you come from a very strong, firm astrological background, I don't think it's the first introduction to tarot. So I invite you to at least have a basic knowledge of the keywords associated with each and every card, and then you can choose whether you want to use the associations from the decan walk or not. And 90% of the associations will actually make sense to you, but there will always be that 10% that just simply does not. And you know, it will be in your power to choose whether you want to follow that or not. But that was it for today. So if you want to follow me, as I said, in my membership, we'll be doing this in detail. Instead, I will be showing you my progress in my monthly wrap-ups. But for all of you who are doing the decan walk, I wish you lots and lots of fun and a sense of adventure, and also, you know, I hope you will have this wonderful approach to this really beautiful way to approach astrology and tarot. So that was it for today. Thanks so much for staying with me till the end of this video. See you next time.